Hey everybody, welcome back. In the last chapter we looked at how to start sort of beginning to skin your character or bind the character up to the skeleton using the smooth bind option. I left you with, well, I left off really with the shoulder area being, with the weights being painted for it, and as I did, if I recall, did mention that it is probably one of the harder parts to actually achieve good deformation on any character. It is very difficult to do because of the amount of directions that everything sort of works in with this area of a character, because it goes up and down, side to side, and front and back, and so forth. But as you can see here, it's not looking too bad. A bit of flipping out there because I'm not using the elbow control as well. So if we just move the elbow control like so, and then just, we can start to move things backwards and forwards, and it's all looking, pretty good. And also, what I can do is just move that up. As you can see, we haven't got much of a shoulder there. That doesn't look right at all. But this is why we have these controls here, so we can grab those and make everything look right. And you can go front and back and stuff like that. So it's all good. And as you can see, that works quite nicely as well. So if we just put all these back to 0. Okay, like so, and this guy here, and we'll just 0 him out, and also the elbow control as well. Okay, so that's all done, and we'll just flip this over so you can have a look at this. And the other stuff that, of course, that we did was the fingers. So you can see the fingers are working nicely as well now. Okay, like so. And also, let's do the up and downs as well for the hand. So that's left wrist bend. Okay, and there you go. So that's all good. And we'll just do the left wrist side to side. So there's that one as well. So that's all looking nice. I've keyed these out for a reason, which I'll show you very shortly. And hopefully you will like what you see. But for the moment, I'm just going to run through the body that we've gone through and weighted everything. This took me about a day to do after I actually recorded the chapter of how to start, painting weights and stuff, and after we started going through that, and it did leave me. I did it in about a day, so it didn't take any longer than that. So as you can see here, it all moves real nice. So that's all good. If we just grab the head, and we can bend him around and do all this sort of funky stuff. So that's all good as well. And what else have we got? We've got the feet, which is always good. So if we go to our famous foot roll that we did a while back, so as you can see, it's all working very nicely. Okay, and also if we grab that foot as well, and I can show you, the knee in action, and you can see, it's not collapsing in on itself or anything, and it goes backwards and forwards, and there's nothing, nothing nasty going on there. So it's all working very, very nicely indeed. So take your time. If you're new to it, just take your time. It will be a bit of sort of to and fro at first, but once you get your head around the whole sort of concept of everything, what not to do and how to add stuff, then you should be okay. And of course, what you have to remember, you haven't got to paint the whole body in one go. You can do a little bit, and then you can go up to your whoops, let's cancel that, don't want to get rid of that. You can go to animation. If you go to skin, edit smooth skin, and you don't forget you can mirror your skin weights across there. And what you want to be using is YZ, and tick the positive to negative. This has gone back to default, so yeah, that's the setting that you want to use. So yeah, so just do a bit at a time. Mirror the copy weights across and stuff like that, and just test it bit by bit until you're happy with what you got. So yeah, it's all good to go. And the other thing, what I've done as well, let me just hide this. We've hidden the joints for the moment. As you can see, we've got the eyes here. I did mention that as well in the last chapter, I believe. We've created this eyes control, and what I've done is group these together, this whole lot together here. And let's just show the joints now. Okay, so what I've done, I've created a whole group for the whole lot of this, and I've basically parented them to the head bone or the head base joint there. Okay, so those will move around with the when we use the net control, stuff like that. So you can see that's happening there. And also that's the same with the tear ducts as well. I've parented that to the base head joint as well, so that everything moves around. If you have teeth, if you do decide to create a character with teeth and a tongue, of course, you'd do the same. Or you can actually bind stuff to it. You could actually use an extra joint in here and bind everything as well. But for ease of use, I mean, I personally prefer to just grab these things and parent them to the joint. And so it's easily accessible. If you have any problems, you can just take them out and not have to worry about the bind or anything like that. So it's all good. So what we're going to do now, before we go any further, I'm just going to show lice hidden, which will be my guy here. And what I want to show you is something that I've done just to sort of test all the joints and stuff like that as well. I've just done a small walk cycle. So I'm just going to grab that down to frame 48, like so. Okay, and this guy's going to kick into a pose and start walking, and there you go. So as you can see, let's just rewind him. Okay, so let's take him back up to frame 50, and as he moves, he's not looking too bad. I mean, I'm no animator, but this is just a great way of, just testing stuff if you want to do it this way. Or you can just set simple keys and just have the arms going up and down, the legs side to side and so on. But I thought I'd put everything in there with translates and rotates and stuff, and as you can see, just by sliding through or scrubbing through the timeline there, you can see that everything's looking pretty good. There's nothing untoward going on with the mesh whatsoever. It's all in place. So that's all good. So let's take that back to frame 0. Okay, so for animation purposes as well, another thing you might want to consider is a proxy piece of geometry that's in the shape of your character or creature or whatever it is you're doing. And if you recall as well, in the last chapter what we did, we duplicated the character and we had the low-res mesh put towards the back here, just for this particular chapter, because we knew we were going to come to it. And if we just turn on wireframe, so you can see we've got a low resolution mesh and a sort of medium to high resolution mesh here. And chances are, if you do end up doing your own animations, or you might end up working in a company that does a lot of animation, stuff like that, chances are you will get a situation where things like this need to happen. So a modeler will need to create a low resolution mesh for, say, the rigging department to bind or parent to the skeleton of the character. And this is really just to allow for ease of use for animation. It just makes everything a little bit lighter, as opposed to this high-res geometry, if you like. When you try and bend the arms, it's a little bit slow, but this one will be very, very light, and won't be any trouble at all for an animator to do their thing. And what you can do, you can hide these sort of things, the high resolution on layers and stuff like that, and you can do vice versa as well with the proxy object. So what we're going to do, we're just going to look at one way of creating a proxy object to the skeleton itself, and I'm just going to hide our character for a minute, and we're just going to bring him back up to 0, so it's all in line with the rest of the skeleton, the rest of the rig. Okay, and let's just pop this all back to normal. Okay, like so. So what we want to do is, first of all, we're going to hide the joints just for a minute, okay, because we don't want to select anything else. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to concentrate on this arm just along here. I'm not going to do the whole body, because there's just no point, because I'll just be repeating myself over and over every time. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut up the arm into about 3 pieces. And first of all, what we're going to do, we're going to start with the forearm. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to sort of select that area of faces to about there. Okay, like so, and let's just deselect those because we don't want those. And all I'm going to do is go to polygons, go to mesh, and then hit extract. Okay, and then just simply delete the history. Okay, let's just hit F8, there we go. And there's our forearm. Okay, so this is going to be our proxy part of the forearm. So you can name this LT underscore forearm underscore proxy, or you could even call it a low at the end of that, just LO, and that should suffice. But for now, I'm just going to call it that, just so we know what we're going on about. Okay, so that's good. So that's the first bit done, and then we want to do another one for the back of the forearm, and I'm going to include a little bit of the elbow here because what I'd like to do is just see this set of polys in the middle there. We'll just delete that out because we're not going to need them. So again, just going to hit extract, hit history, grab that, okay, and again let's just copy the name from there, Control C, and paste this back in, whoops, Control V, and we'll call this proxy left forearm 2 underscore proxy. There we go. So that's done as well. And then what we'll do, like I just said, we'll take out a bit of geometry there where the elbow is, and we'll just select this guy up like so. And we're going to grow this selection. And again, I've got a shortcut on my shelf. There we go, like so. Or we could actually leave it there if we wanted. In fact, let's do the whole thing all the way around, like so. Okay, so that's all good. Okay, so I'm going to do another extract, and there we go, and delete history as well. Hit F8, and we'll call this LT arm proxy. Okay, and that's all good. And then what you can do, if you just go around the whole character and do exactly the same thing. So for argument's sake, I'm just going to get rid of the rest of this for now. I'm just going to delete that from the scene because we don't need it, just for this part of the exercise anyway. So now we've got 3 pieces of geometry, and I'm just going to go in and show joints like so. And I'm going to grab the first one, which is the arm one here, and shift select the first arm joint here, or the shoulder joint, and I'm just going to hit P to parent that. And I'm going to do the same with these 2 other pieces as well. So I'm going to grab that one, and I'm going to grab the joint. Let's just go to wireframe. I'm going to grab the joint there, the first one. I'm going to hit P, and then the first one there, and again I'm going to hit P. So now we've now got 3 parented pieces of geometry, or low resolution geometry, to our skeleton. So if I now go and hit 5, okay, like so. So let's have a look at this. So we'll grab our control box like so, and we can move this around, and you'll be able to feel it straight away. As soon as you start to move it around, you'll feel that it's so much lighter, and you can see why the animators require these things, especially if you're setting keys day in, day out, on a big animation job. You don't want to be wrestling with a mesh or a high resolution mesh. So this is something that might be worth yourself doing if that's what you want to do. And of course the other thing as well, the forearm twist as well, so that's there as well, so that's all good. So that's pretty much what that is. So that would be your proxy, and then you could grab the whole of that mesh and stick it again on a layer to be hidden, and so forth. And you can do the same with the high res mesh. You can stick it on a layer and everything, and then I'm sure a TD somewhere further down the line, if you're working in the industry, they'll have certain scripts and stuff that can turn off the proxy and enable the high resolution mesh when it comes to render time, and all's good. So yeah, so that's just another little workflow there for you to sort of bear in mind if you are going to head on and do your own animation and stuff like that. Okay, so we're all good there. So I'm going to delete those because I don't need those right now, and we're going to call back our guy. Okay, and there he is, and I'm just going to turn off the old wireframe there. So if you recall as well, in a previous chapter, I did say at the end of the tutorial itself, we'd look at sort of creating other joint chains for the legs and different sort of styles of joint setup, and how to do different rotation setups as well for the legs and also the feet. But here at SimplyMaya, we sort of discussed it while we were sort of doing this tutorial, and sort of halfway through we just sort of went, well, no, let's not do that, because we've already gone through all the joint chain stuff and everything, and we thought we'd do something a little bit different, just to finish off this tutorial. And you may recall this guy had some clothes, and I'm just going to do show all. Okay, so here's our clothes, and these have all been weighted and everything else, and they're all working really nicely. I'm just going to hide the top. And what I want to show you is this guy walking with his shorts, and if we're just watching that, you can really see they're just relaxing ever so slightly. And what we've done, we've put nCloth, and we decided that we'd give this guy some proper clothing. So yeah, so what we're going to do for this last and final piece of this chapter is we're going to show you how to do a basic setup for the t-shirt. Okay, so we've got nCloth going on the shorts here. So let me just come back again, and I'll just bring that up. So as you can see, that's relaxed as it's scrubbing through, and then once we get to frame 50, our animation starts, and there's our sort of cloth starting to go ahead there. Okay, so we thought we'd treat you to this one, just give you a basic cloth setup. Don't worry, it's not a problem with the mesh or anything like that. It's because this guy's not on smooth, so if I hit smooth, that'll disappear. So that's all good. The shorts are on poly smooth, and you can turn that on and off however you want to do this. For now, I'm just going to keep it on the smooth because I'm not having any trouble sort of with calculations and stuff while he's walking. So that's all good. So yeah, what we're going to do, we're going to run you through a basic setup. Very similar to how I've done the shorts, and that should get you going, and you should be able to have some nice sort of clothing going on with your character. Also, if any of you follow the texturing volume, we did add a displacement map to the shorts and stuff to create the illusion of creases in the clothing. And what we've done is we've disengaged the displacement map because we don't need it if we're using cloth. But we have kept the bump map on for the material itself. So yeah, it's just something to be aware of. You don't want to keep your displacement map on for this sort of part of the exercise. Okay, so let's do show loss hidden, which is going to be our top. And let's just grab this guy, and I'm just going to hit 1 on the keyboard. And the first thing that I want to do is turn this into a cloth object. So we're going to go up to our N Dynamics. Okay, go to N Mesh and create nCloth. And what I'm going to do is just go to the little menu here, and as you can see, it's got nucleus 1, and this is because there's a nucleus node for when we created the shorts themselves. And you could go in and create a new solver separately, but I'm going to use the same one because this has already got some good. Well, I've just changed 1 or 2 settings on this, and it's working very well. And so I'm going to use the same solver for this one as well. So with that selected like that, and the top selected, I'm going to go and create nCloth. Okay. So in the attribute editor, we're just going to come over and we're going to look at this nucleus 1 very, very quickly. Not going to go over everything because I think it's something that it is trial and error. There's a lot of trial and error involved with this stuff. But the only thing I really did was reduce the gravity because of the scale of the scene. The gravity was too great. I think the default setting for this is something like 9.8, which is quite a lot. So as soon as that goes on, you know, everything sort of hits the floor pretty quick. So I've slowed it all down so it all works quite nicely. And the other thing that you want to do when you do start out with a fresh, if you do decide to do a fresh nucleus or a new solver, if you like, for your nCloth, if you do decide to do a new one, the create new, what you want to be aware of is the scale. And what will happen is this one here, space scale, will come in 1. So this will look like, even if this is in centimeters, the Maya will see it as being like, I don't know, 100 foot tall or 100 meters tall. And to calculate the cloth with this at that value is next to impossible for it to do, and you just won't get a very good playback and stuff like that. So the thing to do is drop that down to 0.01, and your playback will be a lot better, and it should be more real time, so you should be good to go there. The other thing to be aware of is if we come back down here, and if we go to our animation preferences, just down here in the right hand corner, make sure you are on play every frame and not real time 24 frames a second, because again, Maya and its nCloth and all the N Dynamics, they do tend to have trouble playing at real time. They need to calculate every frame. So with that kept on, you know, keep that on and save your scene like that, and you're pretty much good to go. We're going to leave our nCloth for our shirt as it is. We're not going to do anything else, and we're just going to sort of fine tune a couple of these little bits in here, because I'm going to be using a similar sort of sort of settings to the shorts themselves. We're not going to be doing anything too flashy, stuff like that, because we're going to leave that for you to do, but this is just going to be a good way for you to sort of pick it up pretty quickly, without fussing around and going through 2,000 settings and worrying about everything. But the good thing with these settings here, with everything within your nCloth node, it does exactly what it says. The stretch resistance, the higher that is, the less stretch you're going to get, stuff like that. And compression is the squashing as well as the stretching working together, and you can bang that up and everything else, and these things all work together, and they do work really well. The other thing to note is that the higher these two settings go, the slower the calculation will be, or the evaluation will be on the cloth. It's just like you're adding more to the scene, but for what we need for this, we won't be touching this one, not at all. The only ones we will be looking at in this part of the tutorial is thickness, stretch resistance, rigidity, and input mesh attract. Now, rigidity and input mesh attract, these two settings are going to determine how sort of thick the cloth is, and it's going to stop it sort of bouncing around and all that kind of thing as well. And that's going to work in relation to with the stretch resistance. So what we're going to do, we're going to quickly run the first one, and you're going to see what's happening to this cloth on the standard setting that we're going to have. So let's just watch this go, and you can watch this just go to pieces like so. As you can see, that's really kind of stretchy. It's bouncing around until it finds its shape. And I'm going to let this play through to a couple of frames as the animation starts, and you'll see what happens and how messy it will go and stuff like that. So, and we will supply this scene for you to play around with, so you can try it out yourself. So let's just let this run through. So here we go. So if we just start to watch this, so it's all starting to slip off the shoulders, and it's all going to go all gooey and messy. And there we go. So he's done his own sort of striptease in one move. Okay, so we're just going to stop that. Okay, and we're going to rewind that. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to stop the stretching for starters. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the value right up, and a value that I've sort of come to work with is around the sort of the 50 to sort of 80. It's somewhere in between there. So for argument's sake, for this particular part of the chapter, I'm going to put it in at 80 at the top level. Okay, and what we'll do now, we'll just do another run of that, so you can see that it does actually work pretty good. So there you go. So you can see the cloth, it's starting to work. Let me just zoom in a little bit there. There we go. So you can see it slows down pretty quick. Okay, and what you can do, you can stop it. You can select the mesh, and you can go out to your end solver and hit initial state and set from mesh, or set from current even, and this will set it, and it won't have to keep bouncing up and down and stuff like that. But I want to go through all these sort of things. I want you to see what it does. Without having to resort to this at the moment. I'll let you sort of play with that. I want you to see how the reactions are from these settings that we're about to play with. So as you can see there, with the stretch resistance there, it did really slow that down, so it was really kind of cool. And the other thing that we do need to do, I'm just going to select the shorts, and I'm going to hit end mesh and create a passive collider for the vest top as well to go against. It was all looking pretty good anyway, but this is just as an extra measure. Okay, so that's all good. So what we need to do now, we're going to go for a way of stopping, or we're going to constrain the vest to the body of our character, so these shoulder straps, they don't slide off and we lose the vest again. So I'm just going to rewind to frame 0 like so, and I'm just going to hide my joints because I don't want to select any of those, and I'm going to jump into a side view. Okay, like so. I'm going to grab our top, there we go, and I'm just going to grab the vertices. Okay, so I'm just going to grab the first set here on the front, so these 4 rows just here, and they should have selected on the other side as well, and yep, they have, good. And then what you want to do is shift select the actual geometry of the body. Okay, so that's all good to go. And then you want to go out to end constraint, okay, up here, and do point to surface. So we're just going to create a point to surface constraint. Okay, and that's all good. So that's good to go. There are settings that you can muck around in here, stuff like that. But I'm not going to run through these for now because we really don't need to for this particular exercise, because I'm doing the settings really sort of based upon what I know for these shorts. So when we give you the scene, you can have a play around with everything and have a go and see what works for you. Okay, so with that done, let's run this again, and you can see what's happening on the time slider. So you can see it's slowed down just a little bit, and what we'll do, we'll let him sort of walk off a little bit with it as well, and you can see it will start to bounce around a bit too much, and what we'll do, we'll end up slowing that down with the rigidity control and also the input mesh attract, rather not extract, attract. So here we go, so we're just coming up to, where are we, 47. So here we go, so if you just watch this, and you'll see this start to sort of bounce around a fair old bit. So it's not working, it's not too bad, it's looking pretty good. So you just want to sort of keep an eye on the mesh itself. As you can see, there's lots of stretching and stuff going on around here, and it's all bouncing around. Here we go. So this is what you will end up getting. And there are ways, of course, of eliminating all of this. So I'm just going to stop that. Okay, and I'm just going to rewind. Okay, so I'm just going to go in, and I'm just going to adjust a couple more values, and we should be almost pretty much done. And I'll also run through painting onto the actual mesh itself. In fact, we'll do that first. What you can do, nCloth has a way of sort of painting weights, if you like, to the nCloth mesh, and it has all these different settings. And what we can do is we can stop this sort of bouncing around and stuff like that. So if we look at paint vertex properties, you know, it gives you all of these little attributes here that you can go in. So we've got rigidity and all that kind of stuff. So you can paint that in, you know, a lot of it. And you know, you can stop things bouncing around and add in stuff and so forth. It's a bit like when you're painting weights, you know, you're trying to stop the verts from moving around in one area, but you want to keep them moving nicely in another. So it's a very similar thing, and it's almost related in that kind of way. Another thing I do want to look at is we've got this thing here called solver display, and this is with regard to with the thickness and stuff like that. So you've got collision thickness, self collision thickness, links, and all this sort of stuff. And what I want to look at is the collision thickness. So if we just hit that, this will go yellow. And the way you want to look at this is it's almost like an invisible barrier between the arm here and the actual geometry of the mesh of the vest. So you can see this has gone quite thick now, and this is because this is the actual thickness of this attribute. And if I increase the thickness, you can see that that's its sort of collision barrier between the mesh of the vest and the arm. So if we kept this like this, what would happen is when we calculate it, or we run it, what will happen is the arm will pierce through that sort of barrier, if you like, and it will start making all sorts of mess to the actual vest. And so really what you want to try and do is avoid sort of mesh penetration and collision as much as you can before you even attempt to start assigning cloth and stuff like that, because the whole idea is not to, you know, you don't want to be having collision, you just want to be having good working cloth, you know, stuff like that. So if you weight this properly first, you know, when you bind it to the character and paint the weights, do that first, you know, make sure everything's working nicely and everything, and then turn it to an nCloth. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to take this right down, and I think a sort of good thickness to go with is going to be about 0.2, 0.02, okay, on here. So you can see how thin it's gone. Okay, so that's really sort of like at the minimum that I'd like to keep this on, and it should work pretty well. So I'm quite sort of confident with that. I think the short's got something like 0.3 or something like that on. Let's just have a quick look. We'll just select that. Oh, so it's 0.7. Okay, so I'd got it to that with that. So it's not too bad at all. Okay, so let's go back to the shirt, and what we can do, we can turn off collision thickness and just turn it off. Okay, so you've got some more options there. Okay, self collision and so on. So you can go through those values and have a look at those and have a play with that. Okay, so what I want to do is stop all this bouncing around. I don't want to give it bounce, because we're going to leave that at 0. And we're just going to go down to rigidity. And what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to increase that to about 0.3. Now I think I did something very similar with the shorts as well. And the input mesh attract, again, this is to do with the colliding between both the actual vest and the actual sort of body mesh as well. This is a way of sort of stopping it. And what this value does as well, this will make this mesh a lot more solid as well. So the minute you go to 1 or over, your mesh is going to become increasingly, it's going to be like he's wearing a cardboard vest instead of something made out of material. So again, have an experiment with these values, and you should get something pretty good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is give it a value of about 0.65. Okay, for this one. Okay, and we're good to go from there. And of course you'll get the damping as well that will come up, and that will stop it from moving around and things like that as well. But we're not going to play with any of that. We're just going to leave that on default. The other one to look at is damping. That's the overall sort of thing as well, for stopping stuff moving around so much. So you may want to play with that as well, but again, we're not going to touch it because we don't need to for this part of the exercise. And these two guys, it will be between the link and object space as well. So I'm just going to leave it at the default, but again, have a play with that. It's usually one or the other will work better, so give that a whirl. So okay, so we're ready to go there, and let's just go back up, just make sure. And the other thing here, we don't want just the collisions to be going on the vertex. Okay, on the vertex node, put it to vertex face. It's a lot less cruder, and so it will calculate for everything in there. So what we're going to do, we're going to run this now. So I'm just going to let it run. I'm not going to do an evaluation where we can play it back in real time. I'm just going to see if this is going to react correctly for what I want, and then we'll go ahead and we'll cache the mesh itself, and then we should be pretty much there. So while this does that, let's have a watch. And as you can see, it's really slowed down now on the mesh itself. It's gone a lot more solid since we've added all these extra bits and pieces to it. So where are we at? Frame 35, so we're nearly good to go. So give yourself around 0 to, I don't know, 50, 60 frames to let it just do its thing. And if you do decide to do an animation, then let it go. So here we go. So let's just watch this, just make sure everything's going okay. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. So it's not bouncing around too much, it's just got the right sort of motion going on there. So we could stiffen that up just a little bit more, probably. I think we'll put an input mesh attract down to, or up to about 0.8, because that's still quite bouncing around up there. So we'll stop that, and we'll rewind that, and we'll just have a quick scroll down and have a look. So we're at 650. So yeah, I think we'll put it at 0.8. Okay. I don't want to really go any higher than that, because then otherwise, like I said, he'll be wearing something that's made out of cardboard. So what we'll do, I'm quite confident that that will work. So what I will do is we'll do a cache. We'll cache this now. So if we go to nCache, and we'll create a new cache, and we'll call this shirt. Okay, and we'll hit create. And what this will do, this is going to scrub through the entire timeline and let us, it's going to calculate everything, and then what we'll be able to do is rewind it and play it back in real time, and well, pretty much real time, and have a look at it. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and what I'll do, I'll probably hit F9 just to pause it, and we should be good to go. So I'm going to hit create. Okay, we've got one in there already called shirt, the one that I've done previously on something else, so we're just going to do replace existing. So this is now going to run through the frames, and it's running through pretty quick. So let's see what happens, and hopefully we'll be good to go once he starts. So I'm just going to make sure it's going to start animating okay, and then I'll hit the pause button. So the suspense will probably kill you for a while, so it may be worth just heading off, go make a couple or something, or give your eyes a break from it while it does this, because depending on your settings as well, you know, it may be quicker, it may be slower than what we've got going here. So let's just see how we're going. So that's looking pretty good, and I'm going to hit F9 and I shall see you very shortly. Okay, so welcome back. I've scrubbed through to frame 50 and I think our guy's ready to go. So I'm just going to hit the play button and we should get something start to play back from our frame caching. And there we go, so our guy is looking pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty much going to conclude this tutorial, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. As far as the cloth stuff goes, do have an experiment with it. There's lots of good controls in there, just to get you going. That's what we've done. That was the idea of this part of the tutorial, was just to get you started. So you would have cloth to set up, and really do have a good play with that. So you can see it does work. You've watched me do this on the fly. Even though I've played with it with the shorts and various other bits and pieces, it does work and it's fantastic. Give it a go, and if you are going to get into animation and stuff, it will do it justice and stuff like that. And also something else with regards to cloth and stuff, while I'm here, Maya does come with a bunch of presets which are very, very cool. So you could jump in there and select a mesh, and if you go to your cloth node, obviously here, go to presets, and if you just open that out, you can see there's tons in there. And so you can give it a go. I mean, you've got stuff like chainmail, wherever that's gone. I just saw that in the list, but it's there anyway. There it is. Chainmail, denim, honey. There's all sorts of stuff in here. A rubber sheet, solid rubber, thick leather, t-shirt. So I mean, we could have probably have used that for this part of the exercise. It probably would have worked pretty well. But do have a look at those. It's really, really worth having a play with this. We did think we'd treat you to a bit of an insight to nCloth rather than giving you another leg rig to look at. It's probably a bit more fun in the long run as well for you. Do have a go. We will supply you with everything that we've pretty much shown you throughout the whole of this tutorial, and we do hope that you enjoy it and come back for more. So if you do have any questions, you can hunt me down on the forums at SimplyMaya. You know me as Jay. I'm always sort of lurking at some point. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and good luck with the rig and stuff, and cheers for now. Take care.